Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, we're going to do another review of velocity banking. And so what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy using a line of credit as your main tool or main operating account. So the focus of today's video is to kind of hone it in that this is a really easy strategy. There's nothing that complicated about it. In fact, it's so easy when you explain it to most people, um, they'll just kind of ignore it because they'll be like, "What? Well, that's kind of stupid. Money into a line of credit." That's probably what's going to happen because I know that certainly happened to me, where I'm like, "Yeah, you just dump your entire money into a line of credit and then take your expenses out." And then I don't know a single person who's actually done it. It's kind of like I've explained to people, oh man, juicing is so great because I have like 3 juice machines at home. Instead of you digesting your food, the juice machine will do it for you. And you don't have to, eating your vegetables now becomes so much easier, right? And I don't know a single person who actually does that. In fact, a lot of them, they really like the sugary drinks. They like the Starbucks, they like the boba. And then they're like, why am I having trouble sleeping? Or why am I having so much health problems? That's just the society we live in. In fact, I have this feeling that people think that if they do really make things really complicated, that somehow it's supposed to impress other people, right? And somehow people are going to give them more money. No, that's not true. We live in a society where if you actually make things really simple for people, that's where the money is, right? Because the value is that most people's lives are a mess. It's like tangled cords, right? That's how most people are with their finances. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do something called velocity banking. And so let's just kind of go over the 2 steps that I always talk about. Number one is the budget. Okay, so the budget is essentially our debt attack plan. And we got our income, we got our expenses, we got our leftover savings. And in our expense breakdown, we list every single debt that we have, right? And we got a credit card here, a credit card there, a HELOC, a mortgage, and other general expenses. Now, what's really important is that we assume that these expenses are fixed, right? Like we can never reduce them because they're necessary for living, but our debt is something that we want to get rid of because the more debt we have, the more cash flow gets increased. Now, what we're going to do is assume 2 things. Number one, we have the same income, and this is the most important part of what makes velocity banking is that you're not going to have any savings, right? The opposite of velocity banking is having savings. It's not doing extra payments because velocity banking is essentially just extra payments with the line of credit uh, attached to it. Okay, so this is the most important part, and I guarantee you, anybody who struggles with debt has a load of savings. Okay, they have a load of savings. I've never seen an exception to this. Okay, so and here's the other thing too. Nobody lends you money unless you have some money. So if you're really poor, it's really unlikely that you have a lot of debt unless it's a student loan. Okay, or you switch jobs and the job, um, you know, paid you a lot less than what you used to get for whatever reason. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and copy these expenses. Instead of savings, we're going to have something called cash flow, which is essentially income minus expenses. And the savings number is going to look exactly the same as this cash flow number. It's going to look exactly the same in the beginning until we make our home equity line of credit as our main operating account. Okay. So we have this home equity line of credit here, and we're just going to use that formula that 2% of the balance is the payment. So 2% of this is $600. And so what is the difference between the average American here versus someone who does velocity banking? The main difference is that your line of credit is your main operating account. It's your main operating account. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's just assume that we're going to use this home equity line of credit as our main operating account. So 10% interest rate. We'll just assume we have, I don't know, let's say $35,000 limit. Okay. And right now, in our home equity line of credit, we got a $30,000 balance. Okay, $30,000 balance. Actually, let's do this just to make the demonstration a lot easier. Just because I'm a little bit lazy and I don't want to calculate all the nuances that I'll have to do if I make this 35,000. We're just going to make it really easy in the beginning. But so let's say we have a $30,000 balance on a $60,000 home equity line of credit. And so you might be asking, I've never heard of the term home equity line of credit. What is it? All it is like basically a credit card based on the value of your home minus any debts tied to the home. So the cool thing about this is that you can use it to pay anything, right? Anything. Like, a credit card, you can't use it to pay a student loan, or unless you're using a plastique and there's some restrictions to that. But the home equity line of credit, I could borrow money here. If I don't, and if I have a payment due, I could just borrow it from again to satisfy the payment. That's so crazy. I didn't even know that was possible with the home equity line of credit, right? But that's essentially what it is. Think of it as a credit card based on the value of your home. You offer your home equity as collateral, you get better rates. So you might get an 8 to 10% rate, and you get more limits. So you don't get really high $60,000 limits on credit cards, but they'll happily offer you that on the value of your home if you have something called equity. Okay. So now I just want to demonstrate something, right? So I have this Reddit post, and I actually went through this post in, I think, a previous video about a HELOC crushing us, okay? HELOC crushing us. And it's not a coincidence that if, let me just highlight this here, that this person has $25,000 in savings, right? Because the bank's agenda, whether you have a credit card or a home equity line of credit, is they want you to borrow a lot and then make minimum payments. And the reason that you make minimum payments is because you feel like you have to have savings, right? Whereas if you use your home equity line of credit as your main operating account, you don't need this 25 grand in savings because your line of credit is essentially your new savings account. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, and I'm going to tell you the actual strategy, is paycheck into line of credit, right? So you dump your entire $5,000 into this $30,000 balance, and it's going to be $25,000, and then you take your expenses out. Okay, you take your expenses out. Now, let's assume, okay, let's assume that this is day one velocity banking, right? So when we put this $5,000 into that line of credit here, what happens to this $600 payment? It doesn't matter anymore. It goes to zero, right? So now we went from $265.09 to $865 of cash flow, okay? And if we have enough room in our line of credit, which is about $13,000, okay, then we can move this here to even get us more cash flow. But the main thing I want to emphasize is just by simply making this our main operating account, we create additional cash flow kind of like out of thin air, right? And now let's go ahead and move these credit cards into the line of credit if there's enough room. And if there's not, if you're, let's say, at the max, then I would wait like a couple of months, where if I do have enough room, then I would just move all this debt, or maybe put it at the, at the available, near the available limit as much as possible. So again, there's ways to kind of handle this, but I made the limit really big just so that I don't have to be here all day. And so let's go ahead and move this $13,000 of debt into that home equity line of credit. So we're just going to consolidate this. So equals plus 13,000, right? And so now it's $43,000 of debt. But what happens here? Oh my goodness, 0, right? So again, you dump your entire $5,000 here. You take out the $3,600 or $700, and then your balance of that line of credit is going to go down by 1,300. Okay, so here you're experiencing something called segregation of income, because if you're using your checking account as your main operating account, part of your payment goes here, part of your payment goes there. Your paycheck is split into one, two, three, four, five different places, 4 or 5 different places, and you have this little itty bitty savings left that you got to tie on to. Whereas with velocity banking, you're putting your entire paycheck into one single place. Now let's go ahead and do this, and we're finished what the strategy is out of line of credit, paycheck into line of credit, expenses out, and then our balance goes down by $1,300. Okay, and again, here we were on the struggle bus, just kind of like this Reddit post of the HELOC crushing us, okay? But the HELOC is crushing you because you're not making it your main operating account. And the reason why I know it's not your main operating account is because you have savings, right? We've gone through this in many other videos, and I'll go through another video about saving $1,000. And again, I have this Dave Ramsey's baby steps, that if you save $1,000, most of the time depending on how much debt you have, the time it'll take you to get to $1,000, rather than just dumping your entire income into a line of credit, is going to be a lot more time and interest that you would have paid, right? And as you can see here, I practice what I preach. Every month I go with zero. Whenever I get money deposited, I just take it all out, dump it into a line of credit if I have debt, and then after every month it's zero. I don't, zero balance every single month. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and just calculate how long it's going to take us to pay off this $43,000. And let's go ahead and calculate the next month's and then next month's balance plus, so it's previous month's balance plus previous month's interest minus this cash flow number right here. We don't have too much, right? But it's certainly better than $265.09, okay? And then what we're going to do is calculate the interest. We take it from the average daily balance. So let's look for the average function right here, right? And then multiply it by 0.1, and then you divide by 12. So where we get the 0.1, it's because the HELOC interest rate is 10% annually, and then you divide it by 12 to get the monthly interest, right? So now what we do is just copy and paste. Again, it's so simple. It's so simple. It's like those old infomercials from the 90s where they put the chicken roast and you just set it and forget it, right? You just set it and forget it. Paycheck into line of credit, expenses out, and it's so easy that once you explain it to most people, they won't even do it because it's too simple, right? It's like, what do you mean? Line of credit is main operating account. Just going to do what I've always been doing, and I need some savings, right? That's how people struggle. And as you can see here, crushing us, $25,000 savings, not a coincidence, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and copy and paste these formulas, and let's see how long it takes us to pay off this debt at our income level in cash flow. And then as you can see right here, it takes us about 39 months to pay off these three debts, which is the HELOC and the two credit cards. And so let me just do here. So 43K and 39. Was that right? 39. Let me just check. Hopefully it didn't. Yeah, 39 months. Okay. So 39 months, and right here and right here and right here. Okay. And so now equals 39 divided by 12. That's about 3.25 years. Not bad for about $43,000 of debt, and we only had $265 of savings a month. I mean, according to this, probably would have taken us about 3-4 months to save $1,000, right? So instead of waiting 3-4 months to save $1,000, we go to $1,300 of cash flow immediately on day one. And now all we gotta do is focus on the mortgage. So here's the thing: if we have $1,300 of cash flow, the question here is: do you directly want to put that money into the mortgage, or transfer it to the line of credit and then use the same strategy? Whatever way you want to do, it's up to you. But one of the reasons why most people, and again, this is the default that they have, is they can directly put this 1,300 and overpay the loan, right? They can overpay the loan, but why won't most people do that? Is because they lose control of their money, right? They lose control. If I put in this $1,300 in addition with my mortgage payment, most people would freak out just because, like, well, what if I need that money, right? And then they don't like to use credit cards as a backup, and that's true because we want to use a line of credit as our main operating account. When we use our credit cards or line of credit as a backup, that's when we're in the struggle bus. When we use the credit cards or line of credit as our main operating account, then that's when we can confidently sleep at night. Okay? All right, so just another quick review of velocity banking. Again, it's only 2 steps: paycheck into line of credit, expenses out. I can't believe how easy this is. In fact, I'm pretty sure in about, I don't know, 3 months or so, I can show you my numbers and say, hey, look how much debt I paid off. Oh my goodness, I don't have to ever pay for housing again. That'll be so cool, right? Well, let's see if I'm able to do that. All right, well, have a great day, everybody, and we will speak next time.